Hi guys, and at the time of this recording, Merry Christmas as well. I am still going to be quitting WoW, but I found myself thinking, what's something that I don't want to leave undone? What's something that I want to leave you guys with? What's something I think you guys really want me to do before I leave? And obviously the answer to all these questions is the same thing. TradeSkillMaster guide videos. I have a whole bunch of more in-depth ones from an older version of TradeSkillMaster, which might still be useful for you guys to watch. They are on the channel. Just like go to my main channel page, scroll down to the bottom, you'll see TradeSkillMaster guide videos. And so they might still have some like thoughts and ways to set up the add-on that are useful for you, but obviously the entire point is we want one that's good for this current version of TradeSkillMaster. So I've given away most of my items to guild members and stuff, so I have virtually no crafted stuff or materials on me at all. So I thought this was a really good opportunity to show you how you might essentially set up TradeSkillMaster from scratch, so to speak. So I've made brand new profiles, and let's walk through some basic setup of TradeSkillMaster. Now TSM you can download from Curse or TradeSkillMaster.com. And when you have it, you just type /TSM and this will pop up. Before we do anything else, you don't need to do this if you only use one account, but if you use more than one account, the first thing we're going to do is sync our two accounts. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into options here and hit account syncing, and then you want to be logged onto both of your accounts if you do this. So I'm going to add liquidate, and then let's see here, let's bring up liquidate, who is currently online on my other account. So and now we type TSM on her as well. Account syncing. Now we type in Fade's name, and it's going to bug out a little bit. It was doing this to me last time I did this too. There, but you see, there we go. We're connected, and now it will know all these characters once we actually get started. Anyhow. See, it's all connected. So now my two accounts will sync their inventory across one another, which is very useful. You used to have to do this manually. It was a real pain, but so they added that into the add-on, which is a great addition. Anyhow, if you're not doing two accounts or more accounts than that, then you don't need to worry about it. The other thing that I would say to do right at the beginning of the setup, I should probably actually have Fade up on the monitor. Okay, so the other thing I would say to do right at the beginning of the setup is macro setup. So hit macro setup, and you can leave everything here at default and just hit create macro and bind scroll wheel. And what that means is now whenever you're at the TSM pane of the auction house, you can hold control and scroll your mouse wheel up and down, and it will cancel or post your auctions, whatever's appropriate for your current activity. So it's a really useful macro to keep you from having to click. Saves a lot of time. I don't deal with custom price sources at all. If you get more into TSM, you might see people using them. I don't bother. I don't think they're necessary. So obviously the heart of TradeSkillMaster is groups. We need to create some groups. Now if you're a brand new profile, which this is right now, and you open up a trade skill, let's see here, it'll ask you if you want to scan your your profession and create groups for it. I don't usually like to do that because typically it puts a bunch of stuff in the group that I don't care about. I would rather build mine manually, and I also think it's going to be more useful for you guys to see that happen as well, since that shows you how to really fine-tune the groups the way you want. So the first thing I opened was blacksmithing, so let's do that. So I just have a group for each profession that I have. Actually, let me make sure if there's nothing else I wanted to talk about there. So yeah, group name, switch, blacksmithing, default group type. Yeah, okay, so that'll be fine. So blacksmithing. So now we've got this group called blacksmithing with a bunch of different options and operations. The first thing we need to do is determine what sort of items is this going to deal with. What falls under blacksmithing. And so the way that I like to do this is I like to set up subgroups that if you're going to want specific auctioning or mailing or crafting things that are different for a given type of item, you want to put them in different subgroups so that you can more easily manage the different settings. So what I typically do, I would do like 815 gear, and then I would do, oops, we don't want to switch to new group after creation ever, as we're doing this leveling gear. Then we will do mount buffs, and then we will do relics, then we will do misc. Okay, so now we click on one of the groups we made. So 815 gear. What's going to fall under 815 gear for blacksmithing? Well, that's pretty obvious. Where it's going to be our demon steel items. Now, what we're going to do right now is just, let's see here. You can import each item, like, you can do like a whole import string. They definitely exist if you search for them, but you can also just do it like this. So, import demon steel. Arm guards, boots. Import, export, breastplate. Gauntlets. Come on, gauntlets. Get in there. This is definitely a slower way to do it. There are, importing, exporting. If I were wanting to be really lazy, I'd just manually craft one of each item, and then you'll see this thing here on items. Here we have items that are in the group, items that are not in the group. Let's pretend that these fireworks were part of the group. So if I'd already had them in my inventory, basically this is any item in my inventory that's not already in a group. So I could say, let's see, firework, gunpowder charge, and then add them all like that. So it makes it really easy to add things quickly. So one option to add things quickly, if you know you're going to craft them, is craft one of each thing manually, and then just add them like that. If I had a bunch of stuff in my inventory, but I only wanted to have something with the word firework in it, I can select them like that and add them like that. So adding through this particular screen, if you already have the item in your inventory, is way faster. And importing items is also really easy if you can find an import string. But I typically will do things manually to get started, so I know exactly what's in the group, things like that. So let's I know that I didn't get all of the demon steel, but let's get a few pieces in our leveling gear group here. Let's see here. Laystone helm. Let's put in a laystone breastplate. Since I'm just doing these as examples, I'm not really worrying too much about getting everything in there. And then laystone pants. Okay, so we've got 3 things in there. Relics. Relics are actually going to be an important thing to talk about during these groups or during these creations. So import, export. Spike. And then let's get a gleaming iron spike in there. Wonderful. Okay, so there's some relics, mount buffs. Let's get hoof plates in there. Alright, laystone hoof plates. There we go. So now we have, what would we want to put in misc? There's not really much for misc in blacksmithing, but let's go for engineering. So here we have all of our blacksmithing subgroups, right? And we'll deal with what we're going to do with the subgroups later. But for now, we're going to minimize blacksmithing, go back to groups, and now we want to do one for engineering, which is Fate's other profession. So we open up engineering and say, what would we want to make for engineering? You could just look at anything that's selling for a profit, but let me tell you, this stuff that ain't gonna sell. So you want to use some common sense as far as what would actually sell. Most engineers will make their own goggles. They don't buy them from other people. So that kind of a thing is something to consider. So what we actually want to make is relics. Let's make some relics. And let's see here. Vanilla pets. Let's make those our 2 things for engineering. So relics, import, export. The Fellic. Come on, import string. The Fellic. And now, let's see here, in vanilla pets, let's add a few things to that. Let's do a Yeti. And let's do a bombling. Okay, so here we've got some vanilla pets added in, and so we have 2 professions worth of stuff here. So now we've got things in a group. Well, what good does that do us, right? Well, now we can actually apply options to them. or operations. I just read the word options when you say operations, and you might say options. So operations are basically things that you do based on the items in the group. So blacksmithing, let's kind of go over the idea of each group can have its own thing, and there's master level operations. So blacksmithing, everything I ever make, I want to send to Liquidate. Liquidate's my bank tune, she sells everything. So if I ever made anything with blacksmithing, I want it to be sent to Liquidate. So then we look at our mailing operation. So no operation, we want one. So we're going to create one, and we're going to call it the name of the character. Is how I like to do it. So then we do the target character, make absolutely sure you choose the right character, and also consider whether or not you're on cross realm. Make sure you choose the correct realm if they're on a separate realm from you. You can say, I want to always keep so much. I do that for like raid food or flasks. It's like I always want Fade to have those in her bags. She doesn't want to send everything over, but I want to send some stuff over. So my keep quantity for those things is important. You can also set maximum quantity, like I only ever want to send this much to my crafter or something like that. And so that's an option as well. So now if we go over to blacksmithing, now everything that is in this group is set to be mailed to Liquidate if I hit the TSM mailing button. So other operations, obviously one that's really important to us is crafting, because we're going to be crafting for our gold. So let's consider this. What are we want to look at our groups and say, well, what do we want to craft a similar amount of? Leveling gear and 815 gear both could probably we really only need to craft one of them at a time. So let's do let's create a new operation and say blacksmithing one time. So one time blacksmithing so once you've created an operation for crafting, your settings look a little bit different. Minimum restock and max restock are probably pretty clear. I only want to create one thing, so we're going to change our max restock quantity to 1. If you were selling, say, flasks and you always wanted to have at least 20, you'd set your max restock quantity to 20, things like that. Set minimum profit, probably also pretty self-explanatory. You know, sometimes you just want to craft and make sure you have them in stock regardless of if they're profitable. I do that with glyphs, while other times there's no point in crafting it if it's not going to make you gold, so you want to set a minimum profit. Note that the minimum profit defaults to like a set gold amount, but you can use various other custom price sources. So for example, I want to make at least 10% of the crafting cost as profit. So I'm going to change that to 10% crafting on these. And so now it's set up to craft one of each one of those things as long as I'm getting at least 10% of the crafting cost as profit. And so that's going to apply. So now we need to make sure that's applied to the correct groups. I set it up with 815 gear, so it automatically is assigned to that, but we also want it for leveling gear. Let's see here, crafting. So if you don't hit override module operations, everything will default to its parent group's operations. So blacksmithing one time. Let's see here. Did we have anything in this group? No, we don't have anything in MISC, so I'll show you how to delete a group. So if you don't want a group, just go into management and delete the group. Mount buffs. I like to have 5 of these on the auction house at any given time, so we're going to create a different crafting operation. Let's see here. So we're going to say, and this one it's something to consider. Mount buffs, they're not only from blacksmithing. You can also get them from leatherworking for the barding and technically tailoring, but I don't think anyone makes the saddles. Anyhow, so rather than calling this blacksmithing mount buff, I'm just going to call it mount buffs. Or I could do like multi-mount buffs. I'll show you how my actual groups were set up at the end of this video. But this kind of is an example of a way that you could say, all right, mount buffs. And then once we make a leatherworking group, we can go and apply the same operation without having to make a separate one for leatherworking. So mount buffs, we want 5 of them. I want a minimum profit of 10% of crafting. And there we go. So that is set to mount buffs and relics. This one is actually an important one to talk about for crafting. So I want to make one of each of these. And once again, this is something that multiple things make relics, so we're going to call it just relics, since we can apply the same operation to enchanting relics, inscription relics, blacksmithing, and engineering relics. So I want to make at least 10% crafting cost. I want to make only one of them. Now here's the important thing about relics and other things that require Blood of Sargeras. Blood of Sargeras has no vendor value, and you can never see it on the auction house. So how do we know how much it costs so that we can do a percent crafting, or determine what the percent of profit is? Well, in order to do that, you need to manually set up its value. So you go up here where these gears are and hit crafting, then hit materials, and then search for something. Blood of Sargeras. So I've already got this listed in somehow. I don't know why it didn't wipe, but anyways, so basically it will usually say, like default is some sort of like DB market value, but you can't get this from Blood of Sargeras because the add-on will never see it on the auction house. So you just set it at whatever you want to value your Bloods of Sargeras at. I value mine at 400 gold. This comes into account based on like the amount of time I would spend on the characters that get Blood of Sargeras versus how regularly I would get them, how regularly I would tend to craft with them. So just consider how much you want to value a blood for. There's no really specific good way to determine this, though you may want to consider the prices of your blood trader as a minimum floor price for how you would value your Blood of Sargeras. I'd value them higher than that, but of course we've all seen that video, so I don't think I need to go through that. So that's how you set up a specific crafting material value. That's also important for things like, for example, Leylight shards. You may remember from one of my videos, like half price Leylight shards in Arcana, that I shuffle for my Leylight shards. Now, if I were to have this set to default, and it went off of market price like it defaults to, it's saying all of my crafts are 86, every Leylight shard costs me 86 gold per piece. That's not true at all. They cost me at the most 45 gold. So this is another instance where you might want to come in and set up your own custom price so that the add-on will do the math properly for what you pay. And so, for example, since I pay Leylight shards 45 gold, then Arcana should always be a third of that because you can shatter down. So that's another reason you'd want to set up a custom price. So we've got relics, vanilla pets. We haven't, so once again, we've got that relics. Did we set up a crafting group? Yep, so we set up a crafting group for relics. It's not already applied to the engineering one, but we can easily do so by just hitting the group, going crafting, override the module operations, and choosing relics. So now it's going to have all of the same settings as the other relics group. So now let's do vanilla pets. Let's see here, crafting. Let's do, honestly, even though I know I called this, so this is actually a pretty good setting for most groups. Pretty much anything that I want to craft only one of and make at least a little bit of profit. This is a really nice default thing, so I'm actually just going to rename it as multi, one time 10% crafting. That tells me, it's used for multiple things. I will only craft one, and I'll be 10% crafting value, or 10% profit. So now I can just apply that same operation to these vanilla pets. Vanilla pets and pretty much everything, honestly, I always just want to be sent to liquidate. So once again, we go into mailing, choose liquidate. That same operation has now been applied. So now we have made these groups, crafting groups for items that we have. So when you open up your TradeSkillMaster or your window, if it looks like default, just hit this TSM button right here. It'll bring you back to the TSM. And so now we want to craft, right? So we go into TSM groups right here, and we'll see the groups that we just made that have crafting operations for them. And we hit restock selected group, and it's going to queue up a bunch of stuff based on the parameters that we just set. And you'll see here the estimated cost, it thinks I'm going to spend 38,000 gold on materials, and I will get an estimated 42,000 gold in profit based on auction prices. You can mouse over each thing and see profit per item based on how much it's going for on the auction house versus how much it would cost to craft it, that sort of a thing. And so now we can just craft those things. Typically, you know, when I'm playing, I have a bunch of materials in my inventory so that I don't have to do this, but since I gave everything away in preparation for quitting, I don't have much of this stuff in my inventory. So we're gonna also have to shop for it, right? Well, luckily that's gonna be really easy because we can hit gather, choose the character and professions that we're crafting for, and we will hit start gathering. It's going to tell us where all these things come from. So, for example, I already have a big iron bomb to make the bomblings in my bank, so I can go get that out of the bank right now. Apparently my shaman has 3 laystone ore on him. I could get that from there, and then all of this stuff is going to come from the auction house. Obviously some of it will pay like high prices or may not be available because we are getting it in demand. This is another reason to do shopping lists, which we'll talk about a little bit later in the video. So once you're at the bank, if you know that you need things from the bank, you just hit gather items and it will automatically take out the thing you need from the bank. So there it is. My big iron bomb has appeared in my inventory to make my pet bombling. So now we're going to go to the auction house and we'll hit the same gather items button, and it's going to start going through the shopping list for things that I need in order to make all these items. So hit buy items and it's going to start looking at stuff. Now, Demon Steel Bar, it's actually made using 2 fell slate and 1 laystone, so you can usually get it a lot cheaper if you want to buy it yourself. So fell slate, laystone. Of course we'll have to go out to High Mountain to make it, but oh well. Laystone, come on. Laystone. Wow, laystone went cheap. Maybe I shouldn't have quit WoW. Just kidding. Get some laystone, and since we're making laystone stuff anyway. Now, because I'm not using this particular aspect of it, it doesn't always... Ooh, I do not want to buy those. Thank you. You'll see that it's updating, since I'm shopping through TSM to get those, you'll see that it's updating where I'm getting them from. So, we'll open our mailbox here. We've got plenty of items. Now, I don't know if I have enough to make that much demon steel. I'm pretty sure I don't. I wasn't watching that closely. But I don't want to, let's say that I don't want to buy demon steel, because I don't. I'm going to make some. So we can just move to the next item by hitting it. Say, okay, infernal brimstone. Let's see here, buy some brimstone. Oops, come back, brimstone. I need 7 more of you. Okay, I won't be able to get 7 more, but I'll be able to get some. I love that I gave away all my items, and I'm going to have a bunch of more items to give away. It's wonderful. So Heart of Fire, I need 1 of. And so it will automatically move on to the next item once I've bought enough of what I need. Globe of Water, I actually have a few of these, but whatever. Cured Rugged Hide. Ouch, that's a high price for those. Gold Power Core, typically you won't find out. Oh, yeah, you can. It will do intermediate crafting. So since it knows that I can craft a gold power core from a gold bar, it's just gonna have me buy that instead. Thorium Widget, it's not gonna have me craft, even though I can. So it gets a little bit. Oh, that is a very. This is actually, by the way, niche gold making tip. True Silver Transformers. They aren't used in much, but they're used in some stuff. Either way, we'll see what we ended up with enough materials. If I were to just follow this whole list, I would be able to craft everything that I queued up. But since we're just doing this as an example, I don't really care to worry about that too much, as long as I get enough to craft a few things. What am I missing? Okay, so fused wiring. Do I have the materials to make fused wiring? Fused. I need some Essence of Fire and some copper bars. Yes, I'm keyboard turning because I'm really good today. Let's see here. And now, since I'm buying this through Auctionator this time, it is not updating TSM that I'm getting these items, but once I have them in my inventory, TSM will realize that they do in fact exist. There we go. So this should allow me to make fused wiring. Oh, I need more bars. Life is so hard. This is why you use TSM to do your shopping for you, so you don't have to do math. Okay, so now I can make fused wiring. Bam. Okay, so now we've got the materials to make quite a bit of stuff, right? We can make all this laystone stuff. We can make a pet bombling. We can't make anything with demon steel because we have not yet gone out to Ironhoof Enclave and made our demon steel, which is an obnoxious part of the whole blacksmithing. I think that I have not unlocked everything for leatherworking, so I can't really say if they have something similar, but the loom for tailoring is the worst, and the firmament stone for blacksmithing is the second worst thing ever. So I can't believe Blizzard put them back into the game. I got a text message a few minutes ago from someone at work. I should respond to that. Oh well, I'll wait until the video's over. Anyhow, I do hope that you guys are having a good Christmas. These are really long loading screens, and they make it really awkward to do videos without that I know that I'm not going to edit down, because I'm like, well, here's some nice empty time for me to fill. Oh, I guess I can tell you this, guys. Even though I am quitting WoW, a lot of people have said that they'd like to see more stuff from me that's not WoW related. So if you are interested in that, I will probably end up putting it up on the same channel. But but I will also, I have Twitter, which you can actually see on the screen right now, and then twitch.tv/Fadetastic. I'm not sure what I'm going to do. I definitely still play Diablo 3 and a few other things. Let's see here, Demon Steel. Oh, I accidentally minimized the thing. Okay, let's make 20 bars. So if you're following me on those, you'll see stuff that comes up. I might stream other games, or something of that sort. We shall see. Alright, so now we can make some demon steel something. And we can make a relic. This is the great thing about blacksmithing versus tailoring, is I can make tons of demon steel at once, put it in my bank, and then I can craft the gear in town, while tailoring is the opposite, and you can make all of the cloth wherever you want, but you have to go to the loom to craft the items, so it's a little bit more irritating. Also, this huge freaking anvil does not count as an anvil. Good job, Blizzard. So you have to come down here. Anyhow, so now that we've created, now that we've got some materials for our queued crafts, we have blacksmithing open. It's got the blacksmithing stuff that we have materials to craft. So we can click on one particular one if we want. Oh, I definitely want to make sure I get that laystone helm crafted regardless of anything else. So we can click on that, or we can just or we can not click on that thing, or we can keep clicking craft next, and it will just craft the next thing in the list. By default, it will sort them by, first off, the stuff you have materials for goes to the top, and among those, the stuff that's going to give you the highest profit goes to the top of those. So it's usually a pretty safe bet to just hit craft next. And then if I wanted to craft some, and then you just switch to your other profession when you want to craft that. Okay, and then once you run out of materials, it goes orange and goes back down to the bottom. So since I was running out of demon steel, it all went away. So now we've got a lot of items crafted, right? Alright, and I don't know. So we've got a few laystone hoof plates, we've got some laystone armor, that sort of a thing. So let's go back to Dalaran and we'll talk about auctioning. I guess I could have sent this over to Liquidate and showed you how it works on a bank tune, but whatever, this will work. I will say that if you guys have questions, you're technically welcome to put them in the comments and maybe someone else will answer them. I won't be able to do any follow-up videos because I'm quitting and all that stuff. But also when in doubt, mouse over whatever you're unsure about and read the tooltips, because they really did do some really nice tooltips. And the TradeSkillMaster team, the people who make the add-on, are very wonderful and responsive. Whenever I've had an issue, I've tweeted at them, and I have a fix within sometimes minutes, sometimes and by fix I don't mean they showed me how to do something. I mean they oh, that's a bug, and they pushed out an update within a few minutes to maybe an hour. So they are wonderful folks. I highly recommend getting in touch with them if you have any problems with the add-on that can't be fixed just through talking to other people about how to use it. So, as a superior engineer, I can do auctioning in Dalaran. So now we've got these items and we want to sell them. Obviously, that's the whole point, is to sell these items and get some gold. So once again, operations come up. So let's see here. Let's talk about relics, since we know that we're going to sell 2 different professions worth of relics. So auctioning right here, we're going to override module operations, even though there is no operation, so that we can sell one. Create new options. And so now these are brand new operations. You'll see none of those crafting ones appear here because these are auctioning operations specifically. So this one is going to be for relics, so multi-relics. And now here's the fun part. Here's our auctioning setup. So let's go through each one separately. Duration, if you're going to, this is pretty self-explanatory. Of course, as you know, the longer the duration, the higher the deposit. So if you think that this might expire or you might cancel it, then you want to go for a low duration. But if you are actually just not going to be at your computer for 2 days, maybe do the 48 hours sort of a thing. I'll let you kind of determine what your best duration is. For me, I was always able to get to my computer every 12 hours or so, and I also would cancel and post a lot, so I would always have low duration on anything that wasn't super duper niche. Post cap, how many of each item do we want to post? Now, these are relics. They don't sell that fast. I might sell 1 of each one a day, so I don't really need a whole bunch up at the same time. So I'm going to keep a post cap at 1. Compare this to if I was selling flasks, where people are much more likely to buy a lot of an item. I might make my post cap 20. Same with stack size. Obviously with relics they don't stack at all, so this is pretty self-explanatory. But if I was selling potions of prolonged power, I might consider selling them in stacks of 10 or 20, because most people typically don't just want 1 potion. Allow partial stack is basically if you usually want to post stacks of 10, but you happen to have 4 in your bags, do you want it to post those 4? Or do you want it to wait until you have 10 to post? Once again, potion of prolonged power, now that people have rank 3, you kind of end up with random little extra numbers of them, and so allow partial stack on that's pretty nice. Keep quantity is kind of the same as in mailing. Do you want to make sure that you always have a certain amount in your bags? I do that if I ever sell food on Fade, so that she doesn't accidentally sell her raid food on the auction house. Max expires. This I typically will only use for transmog or other weird items like that. There's really no point in doing it for crafted gear or current content gear, because eventually you'll probably sell it. While max expires, it's if that thing expires 10 times and you never got undercut, it just didn't sell, there's probably not much demand, and you might want to consider disenchanting or vendoring it or something like that. Maybe, not saying that's always the right idea, but max expires is basically if you only want it to be able to be posted 5 times before you give up, you can set max expires. Posting price settings. Bid percent, I don't really understand people who bid on things or people who don't put a buyout. It's weird to me. This ain't eBay. So I keep bid percent at 100%, undercut at 1 copper. Once kind of the same deal. I don't see a point in doing larger undercuts. Minimum price, maximum price, and normal price. Now keep in mind that all of these things right now, they default to a set, a very rigid amount of gold. 5 gold, 500 gold, 100 gold. But this is the same as in crafting, in that you can use all these custom price sources. I highly recommend checking out this URL in order to really get really into custom price sources. But the important thing to recognize here is right now we're making a group for relics, right? So right now for Fade, her relics involve Demon Steel Bars and Blood of Sargeras, pretty much. There's an Infernal Brimstone. So the maths are pretty similar. But now once I apply the same operation to enchanting relics or inscription relics, and suddenly we're also bringing in inks and fellwort and stuff like that, the pricing can get really all over the place. So you really don't want to do like a set minimum price in some operations if it's going to be if the items in the group have wildly different crafting, wildly different like values. So what I'm going to do is for minimum price, I always want to make 150% of the crafting cost. So that's so it'll sell for the crafting cost plus half essentially. And then the maximum price. Now, once it kind of gets up here, I do like to set rigid prices. So I like to do my normal price at 8,000 gold. Actually, I think I was up to 12,000 gold on these. And then the maximum price was 14,000 gold. This is because while I certainly want the minimum price to be set off crafting cost, I never want to craft at a loss or sell at a loss. The price people are willing to pay is usually not very tied into the value. This is kind of the same thing I do with glyphs. I never want to craft and want to sell at a loss, but the value that people are willing to place on them is not tied to the mat cost. It's like I sell 14,000 gold Legion glyphs usually, and like 550 gold pre-Legion glyphs I think was the settings that I was running, and that works out great. So consider like what the item is, what sort of items are in the group, that sort of thing when determining what you want your minimum, maximum, and normal prices to be. But they are pretty self-explanatory. Minimum price, it's like anything under that, you can say what you want it to do when it's below minimum. So right now, if things were under 150% of the crafting cost, I just wouldn't post it and they'd sit in my bags. Instead, you could ignore auctions below the minimum. So anything under that is just flat out ignored. So you might end up posting, a little bit higher than your minimum price. You might end up posting back at normal, that sort of thing, depending on what is. Usually you'd probably post just barely above your minimum price. Posting at maximum price, post at minimum, it's probably pretty self-explanatory what these things do. Same at maximum price. When above the maximum, what do you do? I usually choose to post at maximum price. And there we go. So now we have our posting set up. Canceling, I don't often mess with this, but there are a few instances in which I do. Basically, like things with really high deposit costs, I usually won't cancel. I'll just wait for them to expire. And also reposting higher. For example, if you sell uncut Legion gems, like the green quality gems, they have a relatively high vendor value, and thus they have a relatively high deposit cost, but there's also a lot of people trying to sell them. So if you undercut them all, or if you cancel them a lot, either to undercut or repost higher, you can end up losing a lot of gold. So you can say, oh, I only want to cancel the repost higher if I'm going to make at least 5 gold more per item by changing this 1 gold to 5 gold. It defaults at 1 gold and is on. Reset, I don't use a lot. There are definitely people who use this to a tremendous benefit. I don't really do reset scans. I'll let you guys look into how to do that elsewhere if you'd like. Let's see here. Ta-da! So now we have our relics group set up. So let's do a review by setting up leveling gear operations. So for this one, we are going to do multi one-time 25% crafting. So same deal. We're going to go 12 hours. Or we're going to post only one. We don't care how many we keep. We'll let it expire as much as we want. We want a minimum price to be 125% crafting, as we'd said. And then our maximum price, let's do 300% crafting. So we'll always, or actually, maximum price 500% crafting, make 5 times what it costs us to craft. Normal price 300% crafting. Sorry if you can hear the holiday merriment in the background. When above maximum, we're going to post at maximum. When below minimum, post at normal. And now let's apply this to some groups. So I want that. That's a pretty good rundown for both 815 gear as well. So we've got it for. So now we're going to apply that same group here. And relics for both professions are getting that same relic situation. And then we also have pets. So pets are another one where the type of item that you're crafting will have wildly different materials costs, especially vanilla pets. So once again, that's one where we want to do percentage of crafting cost as opposed, or as a minimum price. So NG, let's see here, vanilla pets. These ones don't sell out and I don't often get undercut on them, so I'm going to keep that at 24 hours, minimum price. These are kind of a pain in the ass to get materials for sometimes, so we're going to have a higher minimum price than I normally would, which is 200% of crafting. Maximum price. Typically with pets, it's like people who want pets, they'll typically pay a certain amount for them and no more, so we're going to say 2,200 gold normal, 3,000 gold max. Actually, that's not true. 6,000 gold, 6,000 gold, because I know that I've sold them for that. Let's see here, post at maximum price, post at normal price. So now we've got these 3 different operations set for various things that we have in our bag. So we can actually mouse over and you see TradeSkillMaster info, blacksmithing, leveling gear. So it tells us what group it's in. It also gives us information about how many we've bought, about the crafting cost, that sort of thing. TSM tooltips are awesome. So now we go to our auction house, TSM, auctioning. So here we can see the groups that we have that have operations set. So we just need to hit start post scan, and it's going to scan all those items and see if we can and see what we are going to post based on our settings. And as you can see, we're going to post pretty much everything. Laystone ore, you can see the operation that we've set that up at, or laystone helm, I should say. You can see what you're doing, whether you're undercutting competition, posting at max price, posting at normal price, that sort of a thing. And now since we set up that macro at the very beginning, where we can control and bind scroll wheel, we just hold control, scroll real quick. Oh, Fade, for some reason, I think she's got something that interferes with it. I've never had it on any other character but Fade, so I'm sure I have a macro setup that interferes with it, but it interfered, so here we go. We'll just hit post randomly. So now those items have been posted. Ta-da! And now if we wanted to, we can hit restart, and then if we think that we've already had someone undercut us, we can do a cancel scan. It's going to cancel everything. It's going to say our auction has not been undercut. If the auction had been undercut, this cancel button would light up. I could cancel everything that was undercut, pick it up from the mailbox, and repost it. So this is pretty much the heart and soul of TradeSkillMaster, is being able to do this. Now, one of the biggest things that I talk about in a lot of my niche gold making videos, and it's not only for niche gold making, it's for everything, is shopping. Shopping is, I mean, don't get me wrong, this auctioning, super duper important, but shopping is really, I think, where a lot of the gold is made, because it's what's going to allow you to get your materials cost really, or your materials for a really low cost. So let's make us a shopping list. So what we do is we're going to go into TSM, and let's see here. Let's make a new group. We're under the groups tab, and we're going to make a new group just called materials. And then we're going to make a few subgroups. Let's make a group for ore. I always call them metals, actually. Let's make a group for herbs. Let's make a group for elements. So these will be our example groups. So herbs. What kind of herbs might we need? We might want some Fjärnskogel. And we are going to import Fjärnskogel into that group. We might want some fellwort. And we might want some aethyl. I always forget if the E comes. Where in this word does the E appear? Somewhere. Okay, so we've got some herbs. Now we've got metals. We might want some laystone ore. And actually, we already have some laystone ore in our bags, so this is going to be really easy. We just find laystone ore, and then we should also have some fell slate, and we just add them over like that. Very easy. And then elements, same deal. We've got some heart of fire, globe of water, essence of fire. Okay. So now, once I have these in here, I would usually make their own special groups. So manage group. We're going to make some subgroups, one for each herb I can't spell. And fellwort. Now, each one of these things is already in the group, so we can see it here. Aethyl add, Fellwort add to its group, Fjarnskal add to its group. So even though these aren't in my inventory, because they're in the parent group, they appear in this list, so I can subgroup them very easely. And then metals, we're going to do the same thing. Let's do laystone, and then fellslate. Fellslate gets fellslate. Surprise, surprise. Laystone gets laystone. Now, we've got some groups. What are we going to do with them? Well, we're going to go shopping, of course. It is Christmas after all. So we go into operations for Aethyl, and we go to shopping. Override module operations. Create new option. So what I would do when I set up shopping operations is rather than call them what's in the group, I call them just what I want to pay for it. So for Aethyl, I like to pay 15 gold a piece for it. So what I do is 1, 2, 3, 1, 5G. And you'll see why I put it with all those extra zeros here in a minute, but basically I call it 15 gold essentially, and then so now we want to do maximum auction price per item. So the most you ever want to pay per Aethyl goes in this list. Even stacks, that used to be really important for milling and stuff, so you didn't just fill your bank with stuff, but now that we have plenty of bank space, it's not that big of a deal. But if you wanted to only get a prospectable or millable stack, you can click that. I never do, I just hold on to the extras until I buy it again. Show auctions above max price. You can do that. It makes it useful to kind of keep an eye on where the prices are going on your server. I usually don't, but you definitely want to click include in sniper searches. I honestly don't know why that's not clicked by default. Always make sure it's clicked. Maximum restock quantity is pretty clear. Do you want to buy a maximum amount of these items? For me, it's like I virtually never do. It's like if I can buy enough under my value, then that's great. If I can buy too much of it, I probably just need to lower my prices. You know what I mean? So there is a 15 gold operation applied to Aethyl. And then Fellwort, obviously that's going to be valued much higher. So what we're going to do is we're going to say, shopping. We're going to create a new one, except this one will be 0, 1, 2, 5 gold. So I will pay up to 125 gold for this thing. 125 gold. Include in sniper searches. Okay, so that's been applied to that one. Fjarnskal. Obviously it is valued higher than Aethyl, but let's pretend that it is valued the same as Aethyl. So the reason that I make my list for shopping the way that I do is because it's easy to say, oh, that's one of them 15 gold ones. And it's very easily set up there. So then we'll make some quick groups for shopping for ore as well. Fellslate, let's say I'll pay 45 gold per piece for, include in sniper searches. And then laystone. Let's see here. Let's do 15 gold for that as well. So even though those are like entirely different things, one's herbs, one ore, really the only thing that's uniting them in that group is the fact that I'll pay 15 gold a piece for them. So that's why it's set up that way. And then for all materials, pretty much, I bank them on liquidate. So I go into that parent group of materials and choose to mail to liquidate. So we've set up these shopping lists. So now we can go into TSM shopping, hit the shopping group. Here's all the lists that we're going to search for, and it's going to search for everything that I can buy on my auction house right now that is under the value that I just mentioned. Let's hope it works and that I didn't just waste a bunch of time. Okay, let's see what happens. Did I set something for too high of a price? I could have sworn that I set, I guess I might have. Let's change a few things just for the example setting of, just in order to set this example. I want to make sure that you guys can see what happens. Let's see here. Let's say that I was willing to pay 200 gold for Fellwort, in which case I want to rename this operation. And let's say that I was willing to pay 60 gold for Fellslate. Keep in mind that this is being applied. Oh, that's why. Because I accidentally didn't actually set the price for Fellslate. That explains why it didn't appear, even though I knew there was some cheaper than that. So we're going to start the search again. Now things should pop up. There we go. So you can see the percent of the max price. So it's 73% of the 200 max price I set. Felwart seems to be the only thing under max price, but we can hit buyout and it will buy stuff out at that price. You can also hit custom filter other searches and hit sniper. This is really nice if you run 2 accounts, because now what it's going to do is it's going to pop up anything that I hit show in sniper searches. So anytime someone posts something under that cost, it's going to play a little sound and say, hey, come, tap into this window and buy this out. And then we didn't make a group for preserved holly, right? What the heck's it doing here? Well, what it's doing here is the fact that it, I have no idea why it is here. I have set something up wrong. Usually if there's something that pops up here that is not your normal, that is not in your normal list, it means that it's being sold on the auction house for less than its vendor value. So that's what's happening right here. See, I can buy it out for 1 gold, but its vendor sell price is 2 silver. What the hell's going on? Why is TSM putting up a bunch of this stuff? This is what I get for like removing all my settings before. Below. Oh. I didn't know that it had a below custom price set up. Okay. I do not like that, because basically that's basically trying to do speculation for me. I know a lot of people make gold off of that, but I'm not the type of person who enjoys that. Why is this happening? Why is this happening? Okay, well, this is not how it's supposed to happen. I will show you how it's supposed to happen by going into my other list. So let's bring Liquidate back up. Liquidate knows what's up. Liquidate's way better at auctioning than Fade is. So other account, Liquidate. And I'll show you also how my normal groups are set up as opposed to these example groups, so you can see a little bit more about how I actually do things and how it looks when everything is set up. I kind of want to edit that whole sniper debacle out, but this is so long. It's just one big cut of unedited footage, so I don't want to have to put in that work. And by the way, my throat's really starting to hurt, you guys. The things I do for you guys. I love you guys. Loading screen, loading screen. Let's play with Fade's toys while we're on the loading screen. What toy shall we play with? Toys. Alright, so I'm really bad at this game, but I play it when I'm bored. There's one. Yep, there we go. And then we can do this one here. Points. Is the other account ready yet? No. Okay. This is fascinating edge of your seat content. You guys are so welcome. It's almost ready, guys, I swear. My long loading screens are ridiculous. But that's why I run 2 accounts. So I never had to be away from WoW. Gosh, what an addict. Okay. Let's just stare at the loading screen, because a watched loading screen always loads, right? Isn't that how the saying goes? Pretty sure it is. I hope everyone's having a good Christmas or whatever holiday you might be celebrating this season. Hey, you guys want to hear my opinions on things? I noticed, unrelated to my quitting WoW video, I noticed a lot of, the big streamers were talking about how I guess other big streamers have quit WoW, within the past few weeks. And they're like, why is it happening? They're tying it to, YouTube algorithms and stuff like that. And it's I think a lot of us who just used to be no-lifers are adults now, and we're trying to manage our life a little bit better. But anyways, I don't know, that's just me. Anyhow, so Liquidate is here. So let's take a look at what my normal group used to look like my real profiles. So options, profiles, night. I used to have several separate setups for night and day posting based on when I was at work. That's why it's called night. So this is what my normal stuff looked like. So you can see I've got every profession has its own little has its own subgroup, and then like this one is just my crafting materials right here, enchants. So crafting materials starts here and it goes down to a little bit more here. So I had a whole bunch of shopping lists for various crafting materials. I highly recommend you guys set them up. Basically, anytime you find yourself wanting to craft something, figure out like what the crafting materials are, add them to a shopping list based on what you want to pay, and just always have that shopping list running every once in a while. So I have some pretty big lists, and then if you look at my shopping operations, they're all based on, or except for a few things, but they're basically all based on the price I was willing to pay for something. And if you click on it, actually 38 probably won't have a lot of stuff in it, but let's see what I was willing to pay 100 gold for. Arcane crystals, 33 gold for foxflower, 200 gold for fellwort. What was I paying 700 gold for? Nothing, apparently. So then if she were to go over here and check out, let's check out her shopping list. This is my real shopping list. It's got to scan quite a bit of the auction house because of how many different items that I would buy on this character, but it'll go pretty quick once it actually gets going. So fellwort's cheap once again. Chaos crystals are going for just under my price of 400 gold. Dreamleaf, 20 gold pop, I think. Oh, so that's exactly what I'm willing to pay, 100% right there. Silk is at 4 gold 65 silver, which is a little bit under my 5 gold buyout price. Keeping in mind, of course, you remember how I mentioned, oh, Leylite shards I only ever pay 45 gold. This is how I do it. I get Shaldurai silk and Stonehide leather. I pay up to 5 gold per piece for them. Usually I'll pay closer to 3 gold per piece. And from there I'm able to, I have those in a group which I mail to my leatherworker tailor. She makes bracers. Those bracers are all in a group which is automatically mailed to my disenchanter, and so I disenchant those en masse. So that's how you end up with getting lots of cheap materials. So see, as you can see, under 4 gold per Stonehide leather. So I'm going to pay 36 gold per Leylite shard today. Let's see here, Saronite bars. I use those to transmute to titanium, to make Titan steel, to make Mechgineer's choppers. So as you can see, there's a lot of different sorts of items on here for various reasons. These particular crafted gear pieces, the reason they're appearing here is because they are the ones that happened to roll with double stats. So like this one, Impatient, that's going to have double haste on it. And those are typically more valuable than the average, and so I have them on a shopping list to buy them out and possibly sell them. But I was kind of getting backed up with those. Seeds are on their very special list. Basically, I figured out how many seeds are needed to make a potion versus how much ash I get out of a potion. So that's based on a fraction of the obliterum cost on my server today. Is where the seeds are at. And yeah, so it's basically, I would run this shopping list every few hours. Basically, you know, I'd run it when I woke up, and I'd run it when I get home from work, and right before I went to sleep, and just buy out everything. And and that way I always had materials constantly coming in. As you can see, there's a lot of stuff that is, I mean, these are my actual settings. Look at how much stuff I could buy just because I haven't played for a day and a half. And all of this stuff is appearing on the auction house already. Let's see here. Golden Lotus, very nice. Check out the Kipperite video if you don't know why that's on here. True Iron Ore, obviously that is on there for the purpose of Goblin Gliders. Let's see here. Queen's Opal, you can check out the niche gold making list for that. So as you can see, these are all just parts of the niche gold making. It's not, I never sit down and be like, okay, let's do niche gold making right now. It's putting these things in a shopping list and just constantly picking them up. And then every once in a while I'll be like, oh, I've got a lot of, you know, Legion gems sitting around. Let me go make some obliterum. Oh, I've got a lot of Stonehide leather backed up. I better go do a mass disenchant today. Stuff like that. So It's just about done with the search, but we're going to stop it because we're not going to buy out any of this stuff because I'm quitting. But then if we start the sniper on her, her settings should be correct. So the only thing that will appear here is when those sorts of items that I was searching for on that previous list, whenever they're posted under that value. This way you don't have to keep running a shopping list manually. Once you've got the shopping list, you bought out everything you want, you can run the sniper list, and it will just update you every time something new gets posted, essentially. So that's how you use TradeSkillMaster, guys. It's pretty simple. There are a lot of ways that you can get really into the settings and really change some stuff around. There are various things. I didn't talk about warehousing at all because with the bank, now that I can handle everything on one bank tune and just using her bags, I never needed to use it when I came back for Legion. It used to be really big. You can check out my old videos if you wanted to see how that worked. Let's see here. I'm trying to think of if there's anything else that I didn't really talk about. I didn't really talk about destroying, but it's pretty self-explanatory. It just creates a little window that you can hit the destroy next button and it will prospect or mill or disenchant for you. Very useful for macroing things. And yeah, that's how TradeSkillMaster works. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Now at the very least you know how to make a shopping list. You can see why that's so valuable for me. I hope you guys did enjoy this. Do like, comment if you did. I'd say subscribe, but honestly there might not be much coming from me in the future, at least not WoW related. If you are interested in seeing other things coming from me that aren't WoW related, my Twitter handle is there on the screen, and then you could also subscribe because I'll probably just use the same YouTube channel, which I imagine might mean a loss of subscribers because I know that you guys are here for WoW gold making content, but whatever. I imagine some of you guys just like to hang out, right? I hope so. Anyways, thanks so much for hanging out with me today. It is Christmas today, so I hope you guys are all having a really great Christmas, or whatever day you happen to watch this. I hope that's going great for you as well. Have a great day, guys.